Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, I want to cover use tax scenario. So mainly in three parts. Number one, what is use tax? Number two, what's the difference between use tax and sales tax? Finally, I'm going to give you a live demo including the main prerequisite configurations and also how use tax is calculated on a purchase order and also what the posting will look like on a use tax. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. So in case you have missed my entire series about sales tax configurations, please feel free to check that out. Basically, I break the sales tax topic into each configuration point with detailed examples and explanations. But today, let's focus on use tax. Number one, the definition, right? What is use tax? So typically, your vendors are responsible for charging the correct amount of tax to you when you purchase items, right? However, if the vendor does not charge your business correctly, it is your responsibility to pay the tax. So this is called use tax or assessing use tax. And now let's talk about what's the difference between use tax and sales tax. So very commonly used in the system or from transaction perspective, we see very often sales tax. But basically the difference can be straightforward, meaning that let's take an example of purchase order. You're going to have sales tax calculated on a purchase order if your vendors are responsible for charging the tax amount. So in that scenario, when you create a purchase order with a total amount and you check the total amount screen, you're going to see the sales tax amount available as part of the total. And this calculated sales tax amount is going to continue to flow into your purchase order invoice until you pay your vendor with the total amount, including sales tax, right? However, for use tax, because your vendor is no longer responsible for reporting or calculating the tax, it is the business responsibility to keep track of all the use tax on each individual transactions. And from system perspective, that means when you enter a total purchase order amount, the system is no longer going to calculate a sales tax amount as part of the total. So you will have the sales tax amount line showing up as zero. But it doesn't mean that the tax is not calculated because at some point, as a business, you still need to maintain and keep track of the use tax amount, right? To pay your tax authority and for reporting purposes. So in the case of use tax, you will have a separate GL account to store the calculated amounts at the invoice posting step. But when you create a purchase order total, you're not going to see that amount available. So if you get confused, don't worry, I'm going to give you a live demo. You will be able to see step by step. So first, let's clear out the prerequisite in terms of configurations. For use tax configurations is almost the same as sales tax. I'll just point out the main differences. So everything will still happen in the tax module. And now let's open up the sales tax groups. We can take an example of California, right? I have a group for all the California related taxes. If I scroll down, currently this group includes three tax codes. So I have one for 7.22. Actually, all those three are 7.22. And for audio products, for hours, for spare parts, right? And you see I don't have any use tax checked here. Now, if you need to include use tax for this California state, you have to create another new sales tax group separately. So here you can see I have another group called California use, so mainly tracking use tax. And again, I'm having all the relevant sales tax code eligible to use tax listed here. And then also I check this use tax box to let the system know, okay, every time when you have this sales tax code within this use tax group, please calculate and consider this as a use tax. So currently in my case, I have hour for California state and also hour for Los Angeles city. Okay, now through this information, we're going to create a purchase order using this specific sales tax code within this group. All right. And then this is the first prerequisite on sales tax groups. The second prerequisite is going to be on your ledger posting group. So let me open up another tab. That way we just keep the sales tax group open. Okay, so for ledger posting, same place, under tax module and under setup, we have this ledger posting groups. So very similar. Currently, we have this CA state. So for all the California state posting, I have sales tax payable, sales tax receivable, use tax expense, use tax payable, and the settlement account. So one thing to note is for use tax, you will need to set up the use tax expense and use tax payable account in this screen. Otherwise, when you get to post your purchase order invoice, you're going to get an error message like source document not available, cannot be posted. That's because you're missing a main GL account posting profile. So this is number one. Number two, in case you are following the same steps, maybe on your screen, you don't see those options for use tax expense or you don't see the sales tax receivable even. So that's because there's a parameter that you have turned on likely in the GL module. So let me show you. So if I go to General Ledger module and then under the main setup page, I'm going to open up General Ledger parameters. Under sales tax, you can see there is an option here, apply sales tax taxation rules. So currently, I have not enabled this option. That's why I see all the options, including sales tax receivable, use tax expense, use tax payable. So when this option is set to yes, then the sales tax taxation rules are applied. So feel free to check your parameter first before you configure your ledger posting in the tax module. All right, now we have that cleared out. Let's move on to an actual transaction to see how the calculation is done. I'm going to open up my accounts payable module and then let's do a purchase order. Let's create a new purchase order, vendor account. I can pick, it doesn't matter, air cargo, just for example here. And I'm going to do OK. Let's get to the purchase order lines. Okay, now I need to pick an item. Let's choose this HDMI cable. It might not be relevant in this case, but I just want to show you the calculation, right? So let's scroll to the right. Here, I'll need to select the site. Let's do distribution site, warehouse 24. And let's see what are the other required fields. Unit price. Just to make the calculation easier, I'm going to set the unit price to 100. And after that, we should be fine because we have a net total amount here. And what I want to do now is scroll down to the line details. So a couple of things. First, for inventory purposes, I'll need to add a location. Let me just pick a random one. And now, what is more important is enter the setup section. Okay, let's see. Currently, I don't have any sales tax or item sales tax populated. That's because on my master data from the vendor or from the item, I have not added or associated a default sales tax group or item sales tax group. That doesn't matter. I can reassign now on a transaction, right? So for my item, that's going to be our and sales tax group. Let's do California use tax, this one, right? Because on this purchase order, we want to test the use tax. Otherwise, if this transaction is only sales tax applicable, then if that's the case, you pick the CA California group, right? So now let's use this. I can save that. Okay, now once it's processed, let me show you the difference between use tax and sales tax. So under purchase order, we have this totals. Okay, so let me scroll down. Currently, we are having a subtotal of $100 and sales tax, you can see, is zero out. So I'm pretty sure the zero amount is due to the use tax because in my sales tax group, I do have that 7.25 applied as a common rate, which the system should apply for calculation, right? Now I'm going to close this. Just out of curiosity, let's try if now I use California instead of California use tax. Let's see what's the difference. So in this case, normally I should have sales tax calculated. So let's do totals, right? I'm going to scroll down. You can see the difference. Now I have sales tax calculated and show up as part of the total. So now my total amount is 107.25. That also means I have to pay this total amount to my vendor. My vendor is responsible for charging the correct tax amount. Okay, so now let's close this and switch this back to California use tax. Okay, save it. Basically, now we have all the key information filled in and we can confirm my purchase order. All right, so next step, we're going to do product receipt. So nothing really specific. I just use this purchase order number as my product receipt number and follow the standard process. All right, now let's continue with invoice. So normally, if that's a sales tax related transaction, you're going to generate invoice and you're going to see the total as 107 and including tax amount of 7.25, right? And now let's check it out for a use tax scenario. Again, I'm going to generate invoice. Okay, so similar, I'm going to use this purchase order number as my invoice number. This is mandatory information. Now I'm going to scroll down, okay? On my transaction or on this invoice, you can see my total unit price 100 and the line net amount is also 100. And from here, you have this total option again, so we can check. So same thing, currently I have zero sales tax calculated as expected. And now if I do sales tax, so here is the difference, right? On the use tax, you can see I do have the system auto calculate the use tax based on the percentage, 7.25, and the next line is on Los Angeles City. So both have been calculated correctly with the tag as use tax. It's just not showing up as part of the total because my vendor is no longer in charge of calculating the tax or reporting the tax. So here, let's close this out. Everything looks good. Now I just need to update my match status. You may not need to perform this step. Now it's passed and then I can just post my invoice. The other tricky part is in case you're using three-way matching and not allowing any differences with zero tolerance limit. Sometimes the exclusion of sales tax from the invoice might result in a matching variance. And in that case, you might need to manually approve this matching difference and continue to be able to post your invoice, right? So now let me just go ahead and post my invoice. All right, now the invoice has been posted. Let's check the posting. So I'm going to find my voucher. Just give 1 second for it to sync. Okay, so now we have the invoice posted. You can clearly see we are hitting this use tax payable account to capture the total calculated 8.25, 7 from the California state, 1 from Los Angeles City, right? So that's about the use tax scenario. I hope this helps for your understanding of the whole process and the configuration points. Please feel free to like, comment, and let me know your thoughts on this topic. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.